Hi! Lorrie here once again on Vancouver Island in the kitchen and learning something new, because one of the things that I want to do this year is cooking more things at home and cooking healthier things at home. One of the things that we're struggling with here in the house is that we're not eating properly. I don't keep enough fruit on hand, I don't keep enough fresh vegetables on hand, and when we want to eat something, we just grab something that's going to be quick and easy, and far too often it ends up being toast or cereal or a sandwich or, you know, something like that. And that's got to stop, because all that bread can't be good for us, and just eating junk all the time is no longer an option. So I'm learning how to learning how to use a bread maker. I have a video. I don't know even if I've worked on it or published it. I'll have to go back and look, because I know it's been a while. I have a video about that coming out soon, and about some stuff that's going to go on with my channel. But I really wanted to share this with you guys, because it is something new to me, and I like to share the things that I'm learning with you guys. That's why I started this channel in the first place, was to share things with you. And I know it started out, I only shared my art, but now I'm sharing other things I learn as well, because learning is a lifelong process and you just never stop learning. So anyway, I did find, so I got a bread maker, and we'll see if I have other video of that or not, but I got a bread maker, and I want to make a whole grain, multigrain bread. Now, all of the recipes that I found, my bread maker did not come with a recipe for a multigrain bread, although it does have one for like a low carb setting that I can use. But anyway, I did find several recipes online, but what they all called for was a multigrain cereal. And I don't have a multigrain cereal. However, I do have a bunch of grains. Let me show you what I've got. In my mix for my multigrain cereal, I used 1 cup each of roasted unsalted sunflower seeds, chia seeds, wheat berries, hemp hearts, flax meal, flax seed, steel cut oats, pearl barley, and organic quinoa. And so yeah, that's everything that's going into my mix, which filled up this nut container. So yeah, I've got enough of that to last for several loaves of bread. So now we're going to try and make some bread with it. I also made a seed mixture to go on the top of my bread after it's finished doing its rising and kneading and stuff. And it has flax seeds, sunflower seeds, sesame seed. Oh, that's the other thing I forgot in there, sesame seed. And chia seed in here. And that's just going to be for a little coating on top. So, yeah, wish me luck. One of the things that I don't like when I'm making bread is having to heat up milk. I don't like heating up milk when I'm doing anything, so I prefer not to do it. So one of the things that I've taken to doing is using my Thrive milk. And for some reason, usually I just dump the powder in there along with my other dry ingredients, and it mixes with the water that I put in. But for some reason today I decided to mix it in the water, and I just want to show you how good this milk looks. I've never been a fan of powdered milk, but this is freeze-dried, I think. Is it freeze-dried? Let me double check. Instant milk, it just says. And the ingredients are... oh, it has non-fat milk solids, vitamin A, and vitamin D. So I guess that's good. But look at how good this looks. It actually looks like milk. Like it doesn't look like that skim milk that usually. Well, maybe it does a little bit. But it looks pretty good, and I bet cold. I'm not going to try it because I do not like warm milk, and this is warm water that I've put this into. And so I'm not going to taste it, but I might just make up a little bit and throw it in the fridge and try some sometime just to see how it is, because I do like a nice cold glass of milk, and usually we have milk on hand, but hey, what if we didn't? Right? Isn't that why I have Thrive? Isn't that why you have Thrive? That's why you should have Thrive. If you want to have Thrive, there's a link down below. You can check it out. Sign up under me. And I get a little bit of a kickback for anything you buy, but you get the same prices that I get. And yeah, it's fantastic stuff. I am kind of following a recipe, but as you know, I'm not really very good at that. I am kind of following a recipe, but I am, of course, modifying it a little bit. I don't remember where I found the recipe. If you search for multigrain bread maker bread recipe, it'll probably pop up. But there were a bunch that were very similar in ingredients. And of course, since I'm going to modify it anyway, I figured yeah, let's do it. So let me show you a quick look at that recipe, and then I'll get to add my ingredients. And so instead of 3 cups of bread flour like it calls for, I'm actually adding I'm adding 1.5 cups of regular white flour. I don't actually have bread flour in my house, so I'm adding 1.5 cups of white flour, and then I'm going to add 1.5 cups of some whole wheat flour that I've got, and then of course it calls for 1 cup of my cereal mix, so that's going in next. And then the other modification I'm going to make, I am going to make the modification of a little less brown sugar. I'm not going to use 1/3 cup. I'll probably try 1/4 cup. I want it to be a little sweet, but maybe not quite that sweet. And then this calls for 1.5 teaspoons of bread machine yeast. I don't have bread machine yeast. I just have active dry yeast, but I'm going to add 2 teaspoons instead of 1.5 teaspoons for a couple of reasons, actually. One, my whole grain whole wheat flour that I have is not going to have the same amount of gluten to promote rising, or whatever it is that's in bread that makes it rise. My whole wheat flour has less of it than my regular flour, and so it needs a little bit extra boost. And the fact that I'm adding in that mixture of seeds, that's just all the more reason to give it a little bit more of a boost of yeast, I think. Of course, you know, I'm an amateur, just figuring this out. This is the first time I've ever done this, but yeah, we'll see how it goes. Have a look. We're at rise number 2. Well, we're rising quite nicely. I don't know if I even need to add seeds on top. There's quite a few on there already. My bread just beeped, and I am super sad because I peeked to look about 5 minutes ago, and look at what happened to my bread. It totally collapsed. Anyway, I'm gonna pull it out and we'll still see what it tastes like. Crater bread! Ah. My book said that might happen, and they say that I should add wheat gluten. I don't know where the heck I'm going to get wheat gluten. I'll probably, I don't know, we'll see how it tastes. We may eat it anyway. I imagine that we will, because you don't want to throw all those ingredients away. So hopefully it's still edible, even if it collapsed. And then I guess I'll adjust the recipe a little bit. Maybe instead of 1.5 and 1.5, I'll do 2 cups of the white flour and just 1 cup of wheat flour. And I might bump up the yeast a little bit more. I don't know. We'll see. I'll let you know how it tastes.
What are you doing, Missy? What happened? It imploded.
It imploded.
Why?
Well, when you work with wheat flour, whole wheat flour, it has less gluten than white flour. So it actually said in here that it could happen. And it says that if bread collapses during the baking period, add vital wheat gluten to the recipe.
I thought that whole point was not to have
As much gluten. I'm going to try adjusting the recipe next time, but do you want to try it?
Well, whatever.
Do you dare?
Mm-hmm.
How brave are you, my sweet?
Oh. It's interesting.
It's definitely interesting.
Jeez. Is it done?
Yeah.
About in here. Oh, yeah.
It looks done. You want a whole piece, or you want a half a piece, or you want some butter on it? You just want it plain. Uh-oh, here comes Mima.
I heard you say collapsed bread.
How come I'm always the guinea pig?
What happened to it?
It collapsed.
Why?
Not enough gluten.
What do you got in it?
Not enough gluten, apparently.
What, you don't like it?
Oh, the big old seeds. You're shitting me.
What did you find? What did you find in there, David?
They're seeds. She doesn't even know what they are. And that's what it is, because there's more. It's that's.
Whatever that seed is.
Don't you look at. Oh my God.
Well, I know what's in it, but I don't know.
No, you don't.
I don't know which seed is which. I don't know if it's the pearl barley or the steel cut oats.
You got any more?
Yeah, I got a whole batch of it.
Well, get the seeds out and start comparing. I mean, that's, logic thing to do.
Okay, here, honey, I'll let you do that.
Well, I suppose you got like 20 freaking different seeds.
It's crunchy, that's for sure.
I mean, it tastes all right, but those seeds, hell, they're big enough to break your teeth. Would you put them all together?
Yes. Yes, as a matter of fact, I did.
Why?
Because yeah, so multigrain bread making number 2. So I altered my recipe a little bit this time. I used 2 cups of white flour and 1 cup of whole wheat flour. And I pulled back a little bit on the yeast. I added like 1 3/4 teaspoons instead of 2 teaspoons. And that was the only change that I made. Oh, and I also, my setting on my machine, I changed it from I don't know, whatever it was, regular loaf, to use it for my gluten-free loaf. And I think what it does, like, it cut an hour of time out of the total time on my machine. And so I think what it does is it cuts out a rise cycle, which will hopefully allow the gluten that's in the white flour hold up the wheat flour and the multigrains. So we'll see what happens. Well, it didn't collapse quite as much, but it did still collapse. So back to the drawing board. I may actually need to get some wheat gluten and see if that works. Or I may have to try actually following the recipe and putting in 3 cups of
You experimenting again?
3 cups of white bread instead of adding the whole wheat bread. Well, there you have it. 2 tries, 2 fails, but the bread tastes good. It's just not keeping its rise. So I either need to get wheat gluten or I need to just keep altering my recipe. I realized while I was editing that I never did actually show you the recipe, but I haven't made it work yet. So once I get a recipe that actually works, then I will share it with you, and I'll make sure I get a screenshot of it, and you can go ahead and follow that recipe. I'm still not entirely sure what grain it is that's still crunchy. I think it might be the steel cut oats. They're not so crunchy that you can't eat them. Dave was exaggerating, but it does. There's definitely some texture in the bread, which is what you want for a multigrain bread. And it shows that the grains that you use can be modified to pretty much whatever you have on hand, or next time, although I still have that great big jug full of my grains to use up, maybe I'll try looking for like a 12 grain cereal next time, or an 8 grain or a 9 grain, or whatever the store has to add my multigrain. I have to find out where I can get some wheat gluten. Maybe I'll try shopping online for it. I don't know where else I would get it. I have to go into town on Wednesday, so I may try the grocery. I might actually go to a grocery store and go in there and try that, because I would like to use more whole wheat flour and less white flour in my multigrain bread. So as we've seen in both my tries so far, that's not working without having a little bit of extra gluten in there to make it hold the rise. It's rising nicely, so I think my yeast ratio is good because it is rising nicely. It just is not holding the rise. It's collapsing, which means that gluten is collapsing. And anyway, if you make bread, you already know this. And if you're here along experimenting with me, I guess it just shows that you just got to go for it. You got to just try something new and keep trying until you get it right. And so I'll keep you posted on the journey. We have the second loaf is out on the counter now, and we're eating it. I mean, it's perfectly good bread, and it tastes really good. It's got nice, healthy grains in it and all kinds of stuff. So we are eating it. But I'd like to have a loaf that doesn't collapse in on me, so that it maybe looks a little bit better. But anyway, thanks for coming along for the ride. Again, sorry that I'm not putting out many videos, but I do have some changes coming up for my channel, and a lot of stuff's been going into that. And yeah, one of these days I will have an announcement. I actually have a list of things to announce to you, so I will one of these days put that together. And yeah, I'm going to try to be consistent anyway. I won't be able to put out videos every day, but I am going to try to be more consistent. So I'm not just putting out a video every couple of weeks. I'd like to at least try to put something out once a week or so anyway, because I like having you guys to talk to. I can't really, I mean, Dave doesn't care about how I make bread. He just cares if he can eat it. And Mom doesn't really care how I make bread. But I know that you guys might just care. So if you're not subscribed, you should subscribe. You know, I looked the other day and only 6% of my viewers are actually subscribed. Wow. So if you're watching this and you're not subscribed, please do. that'll give me a bump in my numbers, and that's always good for my YouTube channel. One of my goals this year for my YouTube channel is to actually maybe make a little bit of money with it. So that's some new announcements coming up about that. And anyway, I'm going to stop boring you now, and I'm going to get going. And thanks for watching. Take good care of yourself. And I will see you soon. Bye now.